Hey everybody, welcome back to the studio. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Well, a few months back, I was in the studio. I was doing some copy work for a client. And when I came in to do a check partway through the assignment, I noticed that my pictures were not as sharp as I would like them. Now, I've had this happen before. Last time that it happened, it was actually the filter that I was using. So I went back in the studio, I removed the filter, made sure I had the right filter, took some shots without the filter, and I still was not happy with the sharpness. So then I changed out the lens, tried a different lens, same thing, still wasn't happy. Well, at that point, I didn't have a lot of time to waste because the client was coming back in an hour and I had to get through this entire assignment. So I just grabbed a second camera body, went back in, put the lens on that I used, the filter, took some sample shots, and it was tack sharp. And away it went. I took the camera, which is actually the camera that's on the tripod right now, that's doing the video here. I took the camera, put it on the tripod, and found out that under live view, everything looked good. Didn't think about it anymore. Figured I'll just use it as a video camera. Went from there. About a week and a half ago, it was really slow around the studio. I got everything caught up. I had an afternoon where I had no assignments. So I decided I would sit down and go through the camera and see what was causing the issue. Well, as soon as I thought of that, a customer walked in. Then another customer, totally forgot about it. Today, I got all my work caught up. Just before lunch, I looked at it. It was 10 to 12. I thought I should take this camera and figure out what the problem was. So I took the camera, took some test shots, used a few different lenses, found out that no matter what lens I used, no matter what setting I used, it was rear focusing, and rear focusing by a lot. I would say in my test that I did, it was rear focusing at least 2 inches, maybe even more, which seemed to me to be even worse than what I was shooting in the studio. So as I went through and changed the lens, I changed the filter, I knew that that wasn't the issue. I decided to go through and check the different settings on the camera, see if I did anything really stupid. And I always tell people, it's a lot of times when you have a problem, it's the simple stuff that's causing the issue. It's not the real difficult stuff, it's the real simple thing. Well, I went through and I checked everything. Checked the ISO, checked everything. Checked how I had the focus set up, checked everything. And there was nothing that I could see that would have caused the camera to do what it was doing. Now, because it was working great when I used live view in video, I figured that was probably something within the camera that I had set up, something like the micro focus fine adjustment. And I know on that camera that I had the micro focus fine adjustment set up years ago for my 150 to 600, but I only set it up to apply to that lens because none of my other lenses needed it. I thought that was kind of weird. So I went through and checked and made sure it wasn't on for any of the other lenses, and sure enough, nothing was on. And then I decided to do, well, what I suggest to everybody to do when you have an issue. Go through and reset everything on your camera that you can reset. Go through and reset custom functions if you have that on your camera. Go through and reset everything on your camera. Whatever you have, if you have a master reset, anything like that, reset it. And just don't do it once. Do it a couple times. Go through and reset the master reset, then reset all the custom functions, and reset whatever else you can. Then go back and go through it again and again to make sure that you've got everything reset back to factory specs. I did that, took the camera, did a couple shots, and it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. So what caused it? Honestly, I have no clue of what was causing it to rear focus. Absolutely not a clue. From everything that I saw with that camera, it was 100% set as it should have been set. I really don't know. But a lot of times when there's a camera problem, a couple things happen. First of all, when an issue happens with a camera, it usually doesn't happen when you have tons of time to waste to figure it out. Just doesn't happen that way. I've had phone calls 10 minutes before a photographer was supposed to shoot a wedding, and they were panicking because a camera just packed it in on them, or at least they thought it packed it in. I've had people contact me for so many different issues. Sometimes they hit a stupid button on it, and that's probably what I did, was hit a button not even knowing I hit it. And it changed the settings on the camera, and they couldn't get the camera to work. So like I tell everybody, first thing to do is try a different lens. Eliminate the fact that it could be the lens. If you tried a different lens, then try a different setting. If you usually shoot on manual, shoot on program. If you usually shoot on program, shoot on aperture priority. Whatever. Try different settings. See if any setting makes it different at all. And if that doesn't work, then go through and reset the camera and reset everything. I also recommend that if you do reset your camera, that you also pull the battery out, turn the camera on for a few seconds, and then shut it off, put the battery back in. The reason I recommend that is that some cameras seem to get stuck in a little loop, and they try to do something in the background, and all of a sudden you see this light flicker. And I've seen so many times a little drive light flicker when the camera's been shut off for no reason. And people come in and go, why is it doing that? It's supposed to be shut off. It keeps draining my batteries. And we found out that they had hit something, or they had done something. They changed the lens. They did something that had the camera confused. So do those things first. Finally, if none of the stuff that you've done has worked, send it away to the manufacturer and get it fixed. Now, beware, be careful. If your camera is older, if your camera's 5 years old, 8 years old, if there's a new generation, or maybe even 2 new generations or 3 new generations from what camera you have, don't waste the money sending it away to get it repaired. Like I talked about in the video about that lens that I just broke, and that still hurts. It was an old lens. It really, they've got newer lenses. They got better lenses. Why would I send it away, spend $400, $500 on a lens I could probably sell, hopefully, for $100 or $200? It's just not worth it. So if you're going to send a camera away, make sure that it's a newer one. Make sure it may be under warranty or anything like that. If you do send it away, describe in vivid detail what it is doing. Because I've seen so many times people send stuff away to camera manufacturers to get it fixed. It comes back. Everything is working except for the one problem that they sent it away for. Why? Because they never clearly stated what it was doing. So be very specific of what it's doing. If it's always rear focusing when you're doing people pictures, tell them that. If it's always front focusing when you're doing this, tell them that. If the pictures are always really over or really underexposed, tell them that. Make sure you write it out clearly so that they know exactly what it is when they get your camera. Now, if your camera does start causing problems, please don't panic right away, because that always makes it worse. I know so many photographers that have panicked when they've had an issue, and it was something really simple. Years ago, and I mentioned this on another video, I had a gentleman come in here for a class. We went through a whole bunch of stuff I told him to do. Well, he went away on a trip of a lifetime to Tanzania on a safari. In the middle of the safari, his camera started acting up. He didn't panic. He went through everything I told him to do, and it fixed the problem. When he came back, he told me what happened. I wouldn't have been able to figure it out unless he went through those steps that he had went through. If he would have phoned me or messaged me from Tanzania and said, my camera's doing this, I wouldn't have been able to help him. But because he kept his head on, because he went through and did all the different steps, he was able to help himself. So don't panic if you have a problem. Take it one step at a time. Take it slow and just relax. So until next time, I've now got another camera back, so I can now switch everything back the way I had it before. And I'm going to go and do that. Get out there, take some amazing pictures, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.